Welcome to Mystery Stories for Sleep, where the unknown meets the mysterious. Relax, unwind, and let the intrigue carry you into the night. Your journey into the strange begins now.
Halloween.
Right.
When you mentioned wanting to explore fire and its connection to this time of year,
Yeah.
it really piqued my curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just spooky decorations and pumpkin spice lattes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right.
We're actually talking about Samhain.
Okay.
This ancient Celtic festival, that's where Halloween finds its roots.
Right.
Imagine instead of trick-or-treating, it's October 31st, the harvest is ending, and the Celts believed this was the time when the line between the living and the dead was blurred.
Okay, now that's the kind of history that sends a good shiver down your spine.
Mm-hmm.
But fire?
Yeah.
Fire was a big part of all this for them, right?
Huge.
Not just for keeping warm, I'm guessing.
You're right on the mark.
Okay.
For the Celts, fire was sacred, almost like a deity itself.
Wow.
And the Samhain fires, these huge bonfires they built, especially on hilltops, they were meant to be seen for miles.
So these bonfires were like beacons in the night.
Mm-hmm.
Was it about guiding lost souls, or was there more to it?
It was about protection, too. Imagine a world lit only by fire. The flames would have been mesmerizing a force of nature.
Right.
They believed that these fires could ward off malevolent spirits, especially important during this time when the veil between worlds was thin.
So the fires offered a sense of security, a way to feel safe, during a time when the boundaries between the worlds were blurred.
Right.
Were there any rituals associated with these bonfires?
The Celts believed the fires could bless the land for the coming year.
Oh, okay.
Remember, this was the end of the harvest season, and winter meant uncertainty.
Right.
They saw the flames as having this transformative power, purifying the earth and ensuring a good harvest next season.
It makes you think about how much respect they must have had for the power of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Did they make offerings to the flames kind of like a way to appease the forces of nature?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
They would offer things like crops, the first fruits of their harvest, maybe some grain, even animal bones. These weren't just random items. They were directly tied to what sustained them. A way to show gratitude for the harvest and a plea for continued prosperity in the coming year.
It sounds like they were trying to give back to the earth to maintain that balance between what they took and what was given. That's pretty profound when you think about it.
Absolutely.
Was the act of burning itself significant for them?
Absolutely. It wasn't about destruction, but transformation.
Okay.
By offering these things to the fire, they believed they were sending them to the spiritual realm, making them accessible to the gods.
Right.
It was fire acting as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual.
So it's less about saying goodbye and more about sending these offerings on a journey now. It's a powerful image.
Mm-hmm.
And it all circles back to the timing of Samhain, right between the harvest and the start of winter.
Yes.
That must have amplified the significance of fire for them.
You're hitting on something crucial.
Yeah.
The Celts were deeply in tune with nature's cycles, and Samhain was a time to acknowledge the balance between life and death, light and darkness. Fire, with its ability to both destroy and create, embodied that duality perfectly.
That's such a powerful insight.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder, though, if these big communal bonfires were the only way they used fire during Samhain.
Right.
Was it also part of their personal lives, like in their homes?
It was. There's this really interesting tradition of relighting home hearths from the communal bonfire.
Really?
Imagine carrying that flame, that tangible connection to the community's energy back to your home.
It makes you wonder if that tradition of relighting hearths was more than just practical.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a deeper significance for the Celts beyond simply sharing a flame?
There was, remember, for them, fire wasn't just warmth and light.
Right.
It held a deeper spiritual meaning.
Right.
Bringing that flame back to their homes symbolized bringing the blessings of the gods, the protection of the community, into their personal space.
Wow.
It was a fresh start as they entered the darkest months of the year.
So it was almost like hitting the reset button on their homes.
Yeah.
Starting fresh as this new, darker part of the year began, and fire, both literally and metaphorically, provided that light and warmth during those long winter months.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about survival, was it?
You've got it.
Yeah.
It was about hope renewal, the promise of spring's return, and those themes, they weren't confined to their homes either.
Right.
They extended outward, connecting them to something bigger than themselves. But we'll delve into that a bit later.
So we've talked about the very practical ways the Celts used fire. But you mentioned it went beyond just that.
Right.
What was it about fire that made it so central to their spiritual lives?
Well, think about it. Before electricity, fire was everything.
Right.
It provided warmth, it kept predators away, allowed them to cook food on the most basic level. It meant survival.
Right.
So it's only natural that they would revere it, imbue it with a deeper significance.
But it wasn't just about practical needs.
Right.
We've already touched on how they saw it as a bridge between worlds,
Hmm.
a way to communicate with the divine.
Exactly. And that connection to the spiritual world wasn't unique to the Celts.
Right.
Cultures all around the world have and still do see fire as having this transformative power.
Okay.
It flickers, it dances, it consumes and transforms.
Right.
There's an inherent mystery and power there that captivates us.
So even though the specific rituals might differ, the underlying message of fire is pretty consistent.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Take Diwali, for example.
Yeah.
It's celebrated with lights, not massive bonfires, and yet the core symbolism is remarkably similar.
Now that you mention it, Diwali is called the Festival of Lights.
Yes.
So it's about pushing back the darkness both literally and figuratively.
Exactly. During Diwali, the lighting of oil lamps symbolizes the triumph of good over evil, of knowledge over ignorance. It's about dispelling darkness, much like the Celts used fire to ward off malevolent spirits during Samhain. Different cultures, different traditions, but that same core idea, light overcoming darkness.
And isn't that particularly powerful for a celebration like Samhain, which happens as the days are literally getting shorter?
Precisely, you see the same theme reflected in other winter celebrations, too. Think about the Yule log tradition.
Right.
It might seem like just a cozy holiday decoration now, but it has its roots in these ancient beliefs about fire as a symbol of hope and renewal during the darkest time of year.
Right, the Yule log burning in the hearth on a cold winter's night.
Yeah.
So it's less about decorating and more about inviting warmth and light into the darkest part of the year, a tradition that has echoed through the centuries.
Exactly, that yearning for light, for warmth, for the promise of spring's return. It's something our ancestors understood instinctively. And it's fascinating how these ancient traditions, these rituals centered around fire, have managed to survive in some form or another.
It speaks to the enduring power of fire, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Even today, we're still drawn to it. We have central heating, electric lights, but there's still something undeniably captivating about a flickering flame.
Absolutely. And it's more than just visual appeal. For millennia, fire has been a gathering place, a source of comfort and connection. Think about sitting around a campfire sharing stories under a starlit sky. It's a timeless image that resonates across cultures and generations.
Oh, absolutely. Some of my favorite memories are from camping trips, huddled around a bonfire with friends, sharing stories and laughter late into the night. There's just something magical about it.
Exactly. And that magic, that sense of connection and wonder, it's something we're instinctively drawn to, even if we don't always realize it. It's woven into our very being, a legacy passed down from our ancestors who relied on fire for their very survival.
It's almost as if by lighting a candle or building a fire, we're tapping into something ancient and powerful, something that connects us to those who came before us and to each other.
You said it. Think about the rituals we still practice today. Lighting candles on a birthday cake, gathering around a fireplace during the holidays. These acts, often performed without a second thought, connect us, remind us of the shared human experience that transcends time and culture.
It's amazing how something as simple as fire can hold so much meaning, so much history. It makes you appreciate those everyday moments, those seemingly ordinary rituals in a whole new light, literally.
It really does, and that's the beauty of diving deep into these topics, isn't it?
Yeah.
We start to see the world around us, even the most mundane things, with fresh eyes, with a deeper understanding and appreciation.
So to bring it back to our listeners' initial question, we've gone from spooky Halloween origins to ancient Celtic rituals, explored the symbolism of fire across cultures, and even touched on the psychological impact of fire in our modern lives. What's the one big takeaway you hope our listener walks away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that even the simplest act, like lighting a candle, can hold deep meaning and connect us to something much larger than ourselves. It's about recognizing those everyday rituals, those seemingly ordinary moments, and finding the extraordinary within them.
Absolutely. But even with all this talk about the power and symbolism of fire, we've mainly focused on the things the Celts burned during Samhain. But what about the stuff they didn't burn? We've talked about the things the Celts burned during Samhain, the offerings, the bonfires, but you've piqued my curiosity. What about the stuff they didn't burn?
Yeah.
Was there a reason for that?
That's a great observation, and it leads us to another fascinating aspect of Samhain divination.
Okay.
This was a time when people were looking for glimpses into the future, especially with the uncertainty of winter approaching.
Divination, now we're getting into some truly mystical territory.
Right.
What did they use for that?
Well, remember, the veil between worlds was thin spirits were active. It was a naturally magical atmosphere.
Right.
These all sorts of methods, but many involved objects that weren't meant for the flames.
Okay.
Apples, for instance, were incredibly symbolic.
You know, when you mention apples and Samhain, I can't help but think of bobbing for apples. I always thought that was just a fun party game.
Right.
Right.
It might seem like a simple game now, but it has its roots in those ancient divination practices.
What?
The Celts believed apples could reveal things about fate, romance, even death bobbing for apples, apple peels forming letters. These seemingly playful acts were once ways to try to glean insights into the future.
That's fascinating. It's amazing how these traditions evolve. We might not use them for divination anymore, but those echoes of ancient beliefs are still present. But why apples? Why not something else?
Well, apples for the Celts weren't just the source of food. They were associated with immortality and the other world.
Gotcha.
Remember those offerings to the fire we talked about?
Yes.
Apples were sometimes left out unburnt, a symbolic offering to the beings residing in the other world.
Right.
It's almost as if by keeping them whole, untouched by fire, they maintained a different kind of power, a connection to the unseen.
So they were drawing a distinction between what was offered to the gods through fire and what was offered to the beings of the other world by withholding fire. It speaks to a certain level of nuance in their beliefs, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just about burning everything for the gods. There were complexities, different rituals for different purposes. And those rituals, even the ones that seem like simple games today, highlight how the Celts sought to navigate the mysteries of life, death, and the unknown.
We started by talking about how fire was a bridge between worlds. And now we're seeing these other objects, like apples, also playing a role in connecting with the supernatural. It makes you realize just how deeply these beliefs permeated their lives.
It's true. And while we might not build bonfires for protection or bob for apples to predict our future, those core desires for connection, for understanding, for a glimpse beyond the veil, those resonate even today.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into fire and the ancient roots of Halloween, it seems like the biggest takeaway isn't just about historical facts, is it?
No, it's about recognizing that these traditions, these rituals, they weren't just about superstition or fear. They're about connecting with something bigger than themselves, something ancient and powerful. And in a way, when we light a candle today or gather around a bonfire, we're still tapping into that same primal instinct.
We're carrying the torch, so to speak. It's a reminder that even in our modern world, those ancient rhythms, those primal instincts, they still have a hold on us. It's really quite beautiful when you think about it.
It really is. And it's a good reminder that the world is full of wonder and mystery. And sometimes all it takes is a little curiosity, a little digging to uncover the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll let you get back to enjoying the magic of the season. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the enduring power of fire and the ancient mysteries of Samhain.